Okay, so have you ever wondered about like the 5-second rule?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, that whole thing?
Totally.
When you drop food on the floor
Uh-huh.
to eat or not to eat, that is the question.
Yeah, big question.
Today we're going to figure out if there's any truth to it or if it's just like wishful thinking.
Right.
We've got a ton of
A
sources
lot to dig into.
to help us figure this out. We've got research from like Gillian Clark and Mythbusters. We've
Right.
got a study from the Journal of Applied Microbiology, and even Vsauce and Minute Physics.
Okay, nice.
So we're going to cover all kinds of stuff.
I love those guys.
Yeah, they're great.
So it's really cool how this simple question, like, takes us through all these different fields, you know?
Right. Microbiology, physics, little psychology.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Let's just start by tackling the myth itself, I guess.
Okay.
Gillian Clark's research, way back in 2003,
Okay.
found that a surprising number of people believe this rule.
Oh, really?
70% of women and 50% of men.
That is surprising.
But her work, along with like what the Mythbusters did, shows that contamination happens way faster than 5 seconds.
Right. Right.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And this study from the Journal of Applied Microbiology really gets down to like the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. They did some cool stuff.
They tested salmonella on different floors,
Okay.
and they found that bacteria latches on almost instantly.
Almost instantly.
Yeah, in 5 seconds, you're talking like 150 to 8,000 bacteria.
That's a lot.
And if you wait a whole minute, it's 10 times worse.
Ugh. No, thank you.
That's a lot of bacteria.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier that it only takes about 10 salmonella to make you sick.
Right.
So that 5-second rule is not looking so good.
Yeah, it's really shaky.
Very shaky.
Makes you think twice.
It does.
And you know what else we have to think about is this whole clean floor illusion?
Right, because just because the floor looks clean doesn't mean it is.
Exactly.
Right.
It could look totally spotless, but be covered in bacteria.
Exactly, and floors are kind of like giant magnets for dirt and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of nasty stuff we don't want to think about.
Yeah, and here's a statistic that might make you think twice before walking barefoot.
Oh no, what is it?
A University of Arizona study found that 93% of shoes carry fecal bacteria.
Oh my gosh, that's disgusting.
I know, right?
It's kind of fascinating though.
Yeah, in a gross kind of way.
But okay, so if contamination happens that quickly, is there any time at all where food is safe after it's on the floor?
Right.
To answer that, we need to like zoom into the world of atoms.
Okay, yeah, let's get microscopic.
That's where Vsauce and Minute Physics come in.
Oh, yeah, they're great at explaining this stuff.
They explain that atoms don't actually touch.
Wait, atoms don't touch,
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
but I can feel things touching all the time.
I know, right? It's a weird concept.
So what's going on there then?
So basically, it all comes down to this thing called electron repulsion.
Okay.
Electrons have a negative charge,
Uh-huh.
and like charges repel each other.
Right.
So when you think you're touching something,
Yeah.
you're actually just feeling the interaction of those electron forces.
Oh, wow.
It's not actually physical contact.
That's mind-blowing.
So if atoms never truly touch, how do things stick together at all?
Right, like glue or lipstick.
Or bacteria on food?
Yeah, how does any of that work?
That's where this thing called molecular dipoles comes in.
Molecular dipoles.
Molecules can have these like uneven distributions of electrical charge.
Okay.
So they create these tiny magnets.
See, magnets, interesting.
Yeah, and they attract each other.
So it's like they have little hooks that latch onto other molecules.
Yeah, that's a good way to visualize it.
I like that.
Think about like water clinging to a napkin.
Oh, yeah, capillary action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all driven by these like tiny forces between molecules.
Right, and that's how bacteria stick to food, too.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
So we've got these tiny forces at play, but does that mean there's a tiny sliver of time?
Uh-huh.
Maybe like a femtosecond or two before things actually stick together?
I see where you're going with this.
Could we like rebrand the 5-second rule as like the 1 femtosecond rule?
That's a clever thought.
Right.
Yeah, it highlights how fast these interactions happen.
Yeah.
But even on that time scale, we have to think about this thing called mechanical adhesion.
Mechanical adhesion? What is that? Like surfaces actually interlocking with each other.
Exactly. Even surfaces that seem perfectly smooth have these microscopic imperfections
Okay.
that can trap particles.
I see.
Think of it like two phone books with their pages interwoven.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those videos where people try to pull them apart.
It's almost impossible.
Right.
A single sheet of paper might slide easily,
Yeah.
but interlocked together, they could support the weight of a car.
That's insane.
I know.
So if we're talking about touching in the sense of mechanical adhesion,
Yeah.
then the 5-second rule becomes like
Don't let food touch the floor.
Which, let's be honest, is probably the safest advice anyway.
For sure.
So even though atoms technically never touch, in the real world, it's all about those imperfections that make things stick.
Yeah, those little imperfections make a big difference.
And when it comes to food safety, that means contamination is pretty much instantaneous.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which leads us to, like, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Bacteria isn't just on floors.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading that there are more bacteria on our bodies than people in the entire U.S.
Wow, that's a lot of bacteria.
Yeah, and trillions upon trillions on Earth, like in the soil, on money, on our cell phones.
On everything.
Speaking of cell phones,
Oh, yeah.
little experiment for our listeners.
Okay, I like it.
Take a second and type the letter V on your phone.
Okay.
Did you do it?
I did.
If you're using a mobile phone, you just touched an estimated 6,281 bacteria.
Ew.
Desktop keyboard, still like 180.
Still a lot.
Kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It really does.
But even with all this exposure, our immune systems are pretty resilient.
Right. We're constantly interacting with this microscopic world.
Yeah.
And for the most part, our bodies keep us healthy.
Yeah. It's really amazing when you think about it.
Definitely.
Makes you appreciate the complexity of it all.
It does.
And before we move on, we wanted to let you know we'll be sharing a link to the Oatmeal's phone bacteria quiz in the description.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fun way to get a personalized look at how many little microscopic friends are on your device.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I like that.
All right, so we talked about like the bad side of adhesion.
Yeah. Yeah, the contaminator.
The bacteria.
All that.
The not so fun stuff.
But these forces are essential for life itself.
Oh, totally.
Like they allow our cells to communicate,
right.
our tissues to hold together, and our planet to function.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
It is.
They can be harmful and beneficial.
Yeah, it's the duality.
It is.
So as you go about your day,
yeah,
maybe take a moment to appreciate the wonders of adhesion.
I like both good and bad.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even the tiniest things can impact our world.
They really can.
That's a good point.
It is.
So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
On this deep dive into the 5-second rule.
Always a pleasure to talk about this stuff.
And hey, next time you see some food, take a tumble. Remember what we've learned?
Yeah.
Maybe grab a fresh piece.
Probably a good idea.
Instead of rolling the dice.
Right.
Thanks for diving deep with us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning. Keep adhering to the deep dive.
I will.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? How our bodies just handle all that.
I know. It's like this hidden world that we don't even think about.
Right. And those same forces that let bacteria mess with our food are also like super important for our immune systems.
It's true. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. It's kind of weird how we need these forces, but they can also turn against us.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Totally. And it's not just our bodies either.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, these adhesion forces, they're what make everything stick together.
Oh, yeah, like glue and stuff.
Exactly. Or even like the buildings we live in.
That's crazy to think about.
It all comes down to like tiny atoms and molecules interacting.
It's amazing how something so small can have such a big impact.
It makes you realize how much is going on that we can't even see.
Totally. And it makes you realize how much we still don't know.
Absolutely. There's always something new to discover.
It's kind of funny how something as basic as the 5-second rule can lead us to all this.
Yeah, so it's like a gateway to a whole world of science.
It just shows the power of curiosity, I guess.
Exactly. Sometimes the simplest questions can lead to the biggest discoveries.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we really went deep.
Thanks for taking us on this journey through the world of the 5-second rule.
It's been my pleasure.
Before we go, we wanted to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
We've been talking about the bad side of adhesion, but we also learned that it's essential for life.
Right, without it, our bodies would just fall apart.
Exactly. It's like this delicate balance between the good and the bad.
And understanding that balance is what makes it so fascinating.
So as you go about your day, maybe think about the wonders of adhesion.
Yeah, both the good and the bad.
It's a good reminder that even the smallest things can have a huge impact.
I like that it's a good way to wrap things up.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the science of the 5-second rule.
It's been fun.
And hey, next time you see some food hit the floor, maybe think twice before you eat it.
Yeah, maybe just grab a fresh piece.
Thanks for diving deep with us.
Anytime.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep adhering to the deep dive. And don't forget to check out that oatmeal quiz.
That's a good one.
It'll tell you how many bacteria are living on your phone.
You might be surprised.
So yeah, next time you drop some food,
Uh-huh.
think about what we talked about today.
Right. All those little microbes?
Maybe just go for a fresh piece instead of taking the risk.
Yeah, probably a safer bet.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into the 5-second rule.
I had fun.
Me too. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep hearing to the deep dive.